Hey everyone. Today we're making a market update video. Lots happening at the moment that I wanted to cover. So to start off, if we look at the ETFs that opened where they did, you'll see that the advanced decline line on the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq both opened lower. Nasdaq, like the index, opened lower. SMH opened lower. Bitcoin opened higher and IWM opened lower. So like for me, 5 out of the 6 assets in here opened specifically lower. Um, Normally for me, what that means is that the 5 minute charts are in play, but I specifically decided to not trade aggressively today. Yesterday I made a lot of money, so I wanted to give it a few minutes and I didn't really have the mental capacity to do it at the time. So if we switch over to like where things look end of day, it paints the same picture as the open. Everything is down on the day, and we have like a lot of red. Yesterday there was a bounce and it should have followed through on the Nasdaq. Same thing with semis. Like we were down 3 days in a row and we failed to bounce. And now IWM is starting to break down, as well as other things like breadth. So when we take a look at the overall market, and look at like what's been moving today, my small caps that I just have on, these are like highly liquid small caps here. They're all red on the day. None of them are like, well, some of them are literally beginning to start a leg lower by the looks of it. The main thing that I think is happening is in the mid caps in the gold area. If you look at things like HL, C, D, E, um, probably circle, but well, I would say F cell, probably not circle, and mainly in the gold and silver area, HL and CDE are down quite a bit today, 5% for both of them. That kind of provides like context. Then looking at the overall environment in terms of like ETFs, you can see the Korea ETF is down a ton. And I think essentially what's happening is this ETF is dragging everything down with it. Uh, it obviously had a huge run, 300%, 500% since the lows, and that's associated with SanDisk, I would imagine. Um, with it's the same thing here. So yeah, the market is essentially like, when I look at this, it almost looks like a weak structure short to me, and I think with IWM also beginning to break down, and what's important here too is UVIX is starting to break out. So if we look at SVIX, this is like a 5-star short setup. Like everyone notices that this is a tight range that's breaking down. The market is starting to break down all across the board here. I'll just flip through it. And like if you look at the stock ones, you'll kind of see it. Maybe it's hard to see on ETFs. All right. So here's SPY. Here's BRZU. Notably, DPST is not breaking down, but SPY is. Brazil is breaking down. FANG stocks are starting. This is day one, probably. This could very easily be day one of a short entry. SVIX is breaking down. TNA is breaking down. NASDAQ is breaking down. LABD is probably day one right here after putting in tight range yesterday. GDXU is definitely putting in day one. And so the overall, like if you looked at all the charts I showed you and like came to a conclusion, you'd essentially have to like agree that the market is beginning to turn down. So yeah, that's basically it. When that's what guided my decision making process today. So I got stopped out of AOI, which I longed yesterday, um, and when I, oh my god, TC2000 has okay, there we go. So I got stopped out of AOI yesterday, because I thought it could bounce off the 200, and it failed to do so. And my stop was somewhere in this range, and it just kind of stopped me out immediately. So it's not the end of the world. It was like a small loss. well within my risk tolerance. And, look at the nature of the 5 minute chart on IWM. This is really bearish. And so when you look at the things breaking, yeah. So here's the other thing. If we look at the things breaking down on my scans, we have TSDD, like it's just Tesla, and IONQ. These are the thing. These are like the bearish ETFs that are going up. I don't think any of these are trades here. If we look at like what's breaking down, something like Echo could be a short, App could be, but really the best one, something like VOYG is pretty good. Look at the MAs. They're almost good. But KTOS is probably the best one. And there's a reason I have it flagged. These things have stacked moving averages to the downside, which is wonderful. So when you're trying to pick something to short, it's like you really want to consider the market environment at the time. And what I would say is like if you look at the major ETFs, SMH probably wants to pull back to its 200. So whatever. It's obviously not a short here. So you wouldn't want to short any tech given the context of SMH and NASDAQ at this point in time. With Ethereum, it's obviously not a short here. But with IWM, this thing put in a tight range and is taking out that tight range, basically. It's also a bit choppy, but you're not trading IWM. I'm just pointing out that this is day one. So I don't think NASDAQ is day one, but I think IWM is. So you're going to look for things that could be day one, obviously. And when I flip through, like obviously KTOS and KRMN are good, but to me they're a bit slow. I was thinking that the best options were, we can look at the FHP just to have a look. And then I'll show you the bearish ETFs that match the environment. But if you look at AMD, it's now down 4 days in a row. Marvel is down a lot as well. These things are putting in almost weak structure short setups pretty quick here. See how everything is down a lot, basically. If these things continue putting in my purple candles, they will be, I mean, it could be a weak structure short entry right now. I just think it's a bit unlikely to work. So, looking for more shorts, I'm going to show you my 5-minute breadth project chart. I have, it's similar to DTEZ, but here are the ETFs that you could be trading that like I think are in play. Here's the stuff with news recently. Everything is breaking down. NBIZ is obviously day 4. Well, yesterday could have been day 1 for NBIZ. You know what I mean? It just seems unlikely, given the market context, right? With everything down 3 days in a row. I don't think yesterday was day 1 after this inside day for NBIZ. It doesn't make sense. BE obviously not as short anymore. LABD, to me this could literally be day 1. 2 tight days. This one didn't close near highs. This was the quote unquote day 1, but given the context of IWM, I think so. FNGD, very arguably, this day might have been day 1, but I could see it being today. Given the context of IWM, I think today could be day 1 for a lot of things. SPY breaking down. And when I look through these, do I not have GDXD on here? I should. I just typed it in and I was like, oh, that's a good setup earlier today. Because I remember it coming up on my other scans. But I took GDXD here. And the reason I took GDX was because the mid caps that were falling, 2 of them were gold. And then you see it's breaking down past out of its range. This is obviously day 1. If it falls further today, I will put it tighter. I will tighten the stop. At the moment, the stop loss is like right here, basically. and it could. I think it's like, look at GDXD, the inverse. It's pretty compressed here. One of the things it's missing is linearity, but the market context being as bearish as it is, I think it's pretty good. And like, it's obviously more linear. The whole chart on GDXD is much more linear than LABD or TZA or Connie or FN. I mean, FNGD is okay, but like, if I were to rate this on a 5-star scale for linearity, I would have to give it a 2. You know, if I had to rate GDXD, it's 3 to a 4. If you just looked at the past week, it's not very good on GDXD, but this move here is very clean. Just like this move is very clean on semiconductors. Semis are very linear right now. If you compare it to LABD, there's no linearity. TZA, there's none. Sark is breaking out of a flag. Cool. Yeah, so is UVIX linear right now? No, not at all, right? We do have what's probably a day one, and UVIX moving confirms that it's probably a day one, but without a doubt, the most linear thing that's probably day one is GDXD at the moment. And that's pretty much, look at how quick it moves. So that's pretty much it. It's the only setup I think will work. Apart, maybe MSTZ will work here. But if you think about like, where's the market, right? I want to be trading things coming out of bases with not a ton of momentum over the past. So if you look at when has IWM gone sideways, IWM essentially started going sideways 43 bars ago. The last time it had a linear move was there. So over the last 30 days, I want things that have based over the last 30 days and are now breaking down with IWM. So this has based for 19 days. It's different, obviously. And if you look at GDX, it's much closer, basically. I would say it started basing since here, call it 24 bars. The whole point being that the base looks better to me. Now, silver broke down yesterday and failed to, like, silver was literally a weak structure short yesterday. I can show it to you, not a weak structure short, low threshold breakdown on my scans yesterday. It didn't end up making it. It might have made it for ZSL, but I think it needed to close green. But for a lot of yesterday, while it was green, it was building it was a technical short entry. So with it failing to make it back, I think you could add silver here. My preference would, like, if you look at the linearity of these charts here, compare ZSL to GDXD. To me, GDXD moves much nicer. It's more in a range now than silver is, but the moves on GDXD generally have a lot more force behind them. So that's like an important factor in that stock selection. You could just do ZSL as well. I'm sure it would be fine if you wanted to take like a bunch of trades. But as far as like buying the dip goes, with IWM doing what it's doing, I think today is a day one. And yeah, so the other thing is the amount of stocks up 20% and down 20%. So yesterday when I made a video, we had 100 stocks down 20%. At the end of the day, it was only 64. So today it's going to 102. And I have to think, and this is now at 155 from, like 50s. So this thing is up a lot. And these are technically in reversal territory. Like, I would expect these numbers to coincide with the market bounce. The problem I have is that IWM and NASDAQ are doing something. So these numbers, numbers of stocks up and down 20 and 50% are there to provide kind of general situational awareness, but I'm going to override that because specifically IWM is breaking down out of a compressed range. Um, you would generally want to trade bounces, but in my mind, if UVIX is taking out its range, if SPY is taking out its range, and then if IWM is taking out its range, I would be inclined to expect follow through. So that's my calendar notification. I got to get going. Um, well, I wonder if I'm missing anything as far as analysis goes, basically. GDX won't really have volume expansion most of the time. I'm pretty sure. The volume has been dead for a while. It is an ETF. It had volume expansion over here. Hmm. We had a big day. We had a big day yesterday. I think the timing is good to put on shorts now, given IWM. With something like iron, it's obviously down 4 days in a row. With something like GDXD, I think it's quite. But the question is, am I missing anything in terms of. So the main thing against my trade is the steady 20%, in my opinion. I would also say the main thing against trading GDX is probably the linearity. Um, like this is a choppy range over the last few days for sure, but this is a clean move. These are all very clean moves over the last month. So, given its nature of being an ETF moving with IWM, it's the best thing given the context. That being said, I guess you could wonder like why isn't crypto breaking down as well? That's fair. What happens if Nasdaq bounces tomorrow? What will happen to gold? And my short positions. Like one of the things I'm going to do with this short trade is the stop is going to get moved pretty quickly. So currently the stop is like there, and immediately I'll move the stop up to here at the close. So I will move the stop close to break even at the end of the day. Let's see though. None of these look. I mean, this looks like a good bounce setup. Down 3 out of 4 days in a row. SNDK could put in a bounce setup tomorrow. I think it might, if I'm honest. But normally, my bounce setups are not designed for stocks that are in this really extended downward position. Usually, when I'm trading a bounce, it's going to be actually stuff that looks closer to GDX with the way it's, putting in lower highs and lower lows all the way. So the impression I get is that when these things bounce, and this has been true for a while, but when these things bounce, Like this is a classic. If you flipped the chart, this is a very good breakout. If you flipped the chart here, this is a 5-star pullback. So that's what's been working. I've been a bit slow. This again is not 5-star, but it's okay as a pullback. None of these stocks are really downtrending at the time. I don't think this pullback made much sense. But if you flipped to like here, a lot of things have now pulled back and maybe put in lower highs on the 3-month chart, 3-month 2-hour chart. So you could have like Intel with its lower high here, maybe switch the buy. This isn't Intel. This one is. I don't think so. It needs to not really gap. Something like this could be really good. It's put in a lower high, right? AOI. So if you shorted it here, it could work. It didn't. Um, I don't think this is a short setup. It's kind of a short setup. I think it depends on what the market's doing at the time. So if you look, most of the market is now kind of pulling back on this day. I don't think it's crazy to take shorts here on something like AOI. To me, what? Puts in tight range, and then we were here. Okay, but this is extended. So if you had to find a short setup, it would probably want to be, honestly, SanDisk here makes the most sense. Because, see, this is very weak, but I'm not a huge fan. I think SanDisk makes more sense. And it follows through only for a day before stopping you out brutally. You can see this didn't even really follow through. So it's just interesting, right? At the moment, like I think we have to flip our charts and trade all these leaders. And you should have been trading all these leaders short since kind of the 13th for sure. Um, that's what I think. So when we look at stuff like GDX, we'll see if it follows through or not. Obviously, it's putting in tight range and breaking down on the daily. We look at IWM. It's putting in a bad range, but it is breaking down on the daily. And this could be day one of the move. So I want to, I just don't know if I'm missing anything, and I don't think I am. The only thing I am missing is the linearity, but as far as the environment is concerned, I'm not missing anything. It's 4 out of 6 red at the moment. If we look at the general area of the market that's red, it's not large caps. It's not, I mean, some commodities are red. So that's good for our position, I guess. Silver is failing to recover its breakdown yesterday. Mid caps are mainly the things that are breaking down. With inside of mid caps, it's things like these, which are objectively shorts. Where, like for HL, I would argue that yesterday was day one, but it's not bad to do it today. And then we also have small caps, which again, mentally I tend to associate that more with GDX lately. Within the environment, most of the sectors I watch are red. So I have to think that GDX is like an okay short here. I certainly wouldn't long it on given the 15-minute chart and the daily chart. That would be crazy to me. So I'm going to call it here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later. I think I've done everything right today. So we'll see.